Hi, Amanda from Avatar Uncovered. And today I want to speak to you about an article which was published back in the New Zealand Herald back in August 2013. But before I do so, I just want to stress that this is not about defaming anyone, harming anyone, humiliating anyone, or embarrassing anyone. So this is about bringing the truth to the surface and about the many abuses and exploitation and the lies and the deception. So it has nothing to do with a personal attack or attacking anyone within this article or anyone specifically within Avatar. From our perspective, it should be those higher up that should be picking up the pieces and who are accountable for everything that's come out of this organisation. So they're the ones that should be answering the questions. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. And for those of you that are new here, our mission really is to do exactly what I just said. It's to bring the truth to the surface and the many abuses that have happened over decades and extreme exploitation, which has been one of the most concerning things that I have come across the last few weeks. And just that whole facade. You know, people aren't just struggling that are leaving this cult or have left this cult, and some are still struggling even decades after that I have personally spoken to, but also those that are within this cult too. So I'm really worried for people's mental and emotional states, the way people are dealt with, students are dealt with, interns are dealt with, the way even masters kind of deal with each other, just the whole thing basically. Also, we provide support for those that do have someone caught up within the network or someone that may be getting involved. So we also support family and loved ones and can point you in the right direction for support because it can be extremely stressful. So I had no realisation of just how stressful it is when you have someone you care about that's caught up in an organisation. So I still feel bad about that with my family and friends. There we go. So again, so I want to speak about the New Zealand Herald article. So I was actually out on this course when this whole thing happened. So obviously this is one of the last main courses that I ever did. Those of you who haven't read it, I'll put the link within the YouTube video, so I won't go through the whole article, but it was really concerning a family that were very stressed out about their relative that had got involved in Avatar and the extreme personality changes that she had had. And the journalist had basically done a bit of an investigation into this organisation and had gone undercover very briefly, but it's quite interesting, so do read that. So I'm just going to go through some of the main points from the article and then I'm just going to debunk those points. And again, it's not to embarrass or anything like that, but this is deception. You're actually deceiving people and you're actually lying to the press, and that's really very concerning and people have the right to know about this. An Avatar New Zealand organiser who represents Avatar and Star's Edge stated in a New Zealand newspaper report back in 2013. There have been some negative publicity about us, but that mainly stems from a disgruntled former master in America who was an alcoholic and has since passed away. People have been critical, generally because they do so because there is generally something they have not wanted to look at responsibly and feel like blaming something else. This is a misunderstanding. We do not recruit people, and this is not multi-level marketing, and no one says anyone has to go on our courses, he adds. So I would just like to debunk these claims and blatant lies with some clear facts. So I'll go through each one. So number one, there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints and negative consequences experienced and reported by former Avatar attendees and masters, not just one past alcoholic. So I don't know what you're being told in your organisation, but that is so blatantly true for anyone that does their research out here. These have included hundreds of critical reviews on the internet over the decades, documentaries which have been made, some which have been pulled down, but we still have evidence of these, press and media releases, podcasts, and critical websites as well. So if you go to the tab Criticism and Evidence on the Avatar Uncovered website, you can follow the links to some of these articles and documentaries and reviews as well, and we have many reviews coming in from those, at least giving us permission to share them, but it's not coming from just one past alcoholic, and it never has come from one past alcoholic. So number two, and this is in response to people being just negative or critical because there's something that they don't want to look at or not taking responsibility. So people ending up hospitalised in severe financial debt, experiencing psychological abuse, manipulation and gaslighting, sudden and extreme changes in personality, which I have seen and are really, really concerning. 3, very concerned friends, families and loved ones. Has absolutely nothing to do with the person just being negative or not willing to responsibly look at something on course. Now, really consider all of that. Abuse, psychological abuse, gaslighting. Gaslighting being where the person to the other person's reality and twists it and turns it for their own benefit. Very, very disturbing and has really horrid consequences. So that's one of the main things that concerns us within Avatar. Changes and extreme changes in personality is not normal. You have to wonder how someone can have such a sudden and extreme change in personality. And from my observation, having been there but having watched others, it's almost like they've got multiple personality disorder. Some who've been in this network for a while, I can't help but say that, but it's so true. You know, you can be one person 1 minute and another person the complete next, and then another person and then another person. And so for someone like this, this lady who has gone away and done, you know, weeks and weeks of courses and then come back again, that would be very stressful for the family to watch, because it may seem normal when you're within the network, but when you're outside, it's really worrying. It's quite disturbing. So there have been blatant violations of the human being and situations which would be considered outside the four walls of protection within an avatar as abuse and an invasion of our human rights. And that's something I don't think is taken seriously at all within Avatar. We do have human rights. You don't just go around abusing someone and then blaming them. I mean, really think about that. You're abusing them, you're putting them down, you're ridiculing them, you're turning them into a complete psychological mess. And then they end up either hospitalised, or they can't get their lives back together, or they've got years and years of anxiety and depression. All sorts of things we could just keep going into here, which I don't want to. I don't want to keep doing this. But it's just really important to highlight that how is that the person's issue? How is that theirs? And what sort of person does that make you if you keep turning it around on someone else that's always been their fault, always being their responsibility? They have integrity issues. They have a transgression they haven't, worked on, or it's their creation. It's abuse. That in itself is abusive. So as I put here, to simply blame the victim really highlights the true intentions of this organisation and is a classic sign of destructive cultish behaviour. So I just want to stress that this is something that's very common in cults in general, cults and abusive relationships. So this is not just something that happens in Avatar. It's not like we're just kind of like Avatar bashing, as gets said. That's not it at all. This is because it's an abusive organisation and it's a cult. For an organisation which preaches compassion and enlightenment, think about that. I mean, this is actually quite an unbelievable response. I mean, are you really in touch with your heart and your feelings and empathy and compassion, like really, when you can think about someone that is spending weeks and weeks crying at home and in complete state of panic or depression, or their family and loved ones that are worried sick every night and can't sleep for weeks and months and years, that are praying for you to kind of wake up from this spell? Like, it's just, it's not because they're negative or they're critical or there's something they haven't responsibly wanted to look at on course, just to put that into perspective. So where are we? Number 3, we do not recruit people, and this is not multi-level marketing, and nothing says anyone has to go on to all of our courses. So the Avatar internship, integrity course, professional course, and even aspects of the Wizards course, amongst other things as well, are all about getting students and filling courses with students. So this is actually recruiting. You've kind of dressed it up in Avatar as being, creating students. It's recruiting. It's still recruiting. I was in multi-level marketing for years before Avatar, and this would be considered recruiting. So you're basically trying to get someone into your organisation and then to work the organisation, and then for that person to get more people within your organisation, and then you have money going up a pyramid structure. So that is both recruiting and that is multi-level marketing. So all these courses, these include the use of primaries. So these are in Avatar affirmations repeated daily about increasing our intention, working harder, pairing up with a buddy, undertaking rundowns, working on online integrity issues, and as I've gathered, those are way higher up in this organisation, write-ups of transgressions, and continuously basically looking at what is wrong with us, like every single day. So this really is the cult of confession. And I mean, confession is a big one in cults anyway. It's something to watch out for. So again, it'll be dressed up as something else. So in Avatar, it's dressed up as, as sort of like clearing yourself out, like having less fixed attention. I mean, there's so many reasons within Avatar, but actually confession is a very big one in cults, because the more you sort of confess, number one, it always puts the responsibility back on you. Number two, you start to subtly hand over responsibility of your life to someone else, and this can be very subtle. For some, it might be quicker. It's like everyone kind of reacts differently within a cult setting. So some it can be quicker, some it can take months, and you'll see those that are within this organisation over years. Confession is a daily thing within Avatar, and those confessions will be looked at by someone else constantly. So people are even brought down and ridiculed if they do not bring students, and I saw this with my very eyes. I actually couldn't quite believe it when I saw it, and I had friends at the time who were friends in Avatar tell me of their experiences, and I was like, well, that's so different than what this whole thing is perceived to be, and I've gathered even more that this is true. So these have been people's experiences, and I saw it happen as well. So this becomes a common occurrence that people get into the hidden layer of Avatar. And when I talk about the hidden layer, I always call it this, but it does act like that. Like there's no transparency of the advanced intern program at all. So there isn't any transparency. So it kind of has that secret, hidden feel to it. And the dynamics really change. And again, that'll be dressed up as taking responsibility for humanity and all sorts of things it gets dressed up as. But it actually is, again, control and handing over your life, which from my perspective is very sad. Behind the scenes at international courses, we are brought together as one large group and recite as a group how many students we are going to get signed up to the master's course. Again, this is recruiting. This is all about how many students we're going to get on course. This was done without the students' awareness, and this is done as a joint primary, which is done again in quite a cultish way. So yeah, I won't go into that now. When interning on international courses, we have whole training sessions and recruitment processes, which are called outflow. And this includes how we talk to potential people, such as on public transport, speaking to people in shopping centres and cafes, pushing us to go and make those important phone calls and follow up with prospects. We have freeway calls, all the stuff that you get in multi-level marketing and network marketing. All these in sessions, we encourage to bring back the people we talk to do introductory sessions, which are held every single day at courses. So it's about going out and trying to, bring people into your world and then introduce them to Avatar. This is not just coming from me. I mean, we've got reviews coming in now that just state exactly the same thing, as the same stories over and over again. It's not just one or two people that are criticising. These are many, many stories. So bringing them into our world, and then we bring them back, and then we put them through an introductory session. So again, this is all recruiting. So to say that we don't recruit is a complete lie. You do, and we make money from that. That's how our master survives. So going straight into number 4, Avatar does have a multi-layered approach with a pyramid structure. You get paid for each student initially, and masters have to send a royalty fee to Star's Edge, which is less if you're a Star Master. And you also get commission for doing masters as well. And for the qualified masters, they begin to get more financial benefit as well. A lot of the primary reason why students may not be able to go to on an Avatar course in their home country, maybe because they've met up with a master in another country and they're aligned like to another grid, to another financial structure. So they may be told, rather than going to do Avatar in the Netherlands, which is their home country, that they have to go and do it in Australia, and they will fly to do it in Australia, and then that money will go up the pyramid. So that's not transparent either, you know. Or if it is, you have to dig very, very, very deeply, because I personally don't know where that is. So if you'd like to, at Stars Edge, tell us where that is transparent, that'd be great. Masters are also encouraged to come to an internship even without students, with many masters doing this on a monthly basis. And this costs them about $800 approximately each for each course, in addition to hotel and travel fees. And this is where people are getting really, really stuck in Avatar, myself included. Some way worse than me as well. Like, I hear people paying off their internship fees years and years later. And I think what's so deceptive is that's not the perception that is given. That's not what is presented to new students or to their families or friends or to the general public. I mean, I've read things where actual, trainers have spoken to people and said, oh, they can make their money by being an Avatar master. So they'll create their own reality and they'll make all the money back again. I did not witness that ever, not ever. I think I know of 2 or 3 people that have done well in this Australia, what I was part of. They work their asses off. They work really, really hard. That's what does it. That's what creates success within Avatar. It's working really, really hard. I argue it has absolutely nothing to do with your financial structure or your primaries or any of the tools. I mean, there are so many people that have gone bankrupt, have so many loans, have had to borrow against their house and their car and friends and family, which brings me on to the next part, which is the unethical loaning as well of Avatar masters to students and masters. So that, I would argue, also keeps people going, keeps them on the path, keeps them continuously going to courses when they really shouldn't be at all. So I'll get onto that a bit more in a moment. So number 5, the lack of disclosure on how the quoted Avatar New Zealand organiser gets paid is in alignment with my above comments. So there's a complete lack of transparency, which even the Avatar masters are unaware of. And again, this shows the true intentions of this organisation, which is to keep their financial structure secretive. You have absolutely no reason to keep your financial structure so secretive. Make it transparent. You're all about creating an enlightened planet, enlightenment, awareness, compassion, connection. So straight away, you would think you would be ethical as well. I mean, that comes with the part of that love. I see that used in your campaigning a lot lately, love. So if you had love, you would care for the well-being of those that you hold under your wing. Like, that just comes naturally. Which brings me on to the next part, and this part I feel is the most disturbing, and the most disturbing I have discussed with other ex-Avatar masters as well that are helping with this campaign. So, and that is the part that no one says that anyone has to go on and do all of our courses. So I suggest you look up undue influence and coercion along those lines, because that actually is pushing people to go onto your courses, and that comes under, law as well. So you actually do coerce, you push them, you make them feel guilty. You'll be willing to break up families and friendships. You'll be willing to take them away from their careers and their jobs quite early on as well, in order to get them on the path, to get them to sign up to next courses. I mean, this happens on as early as a resurfacing course, going all the way through your courses, your advanced courses, and on your path, which again is undue influence and coercion. So you are pushing people onto your courses. By the time someone has gone through the whole world of Avatar, and they have been pretty much, forced to go on your courses. So that's just passing off responsibility. And I know you have different reasons for thinking that you're pushing people through Avatar and what Harry Palmer tells you, but understand that this is cultish behaviour again, and you're not the only organisation in the world to do this, and this isn't Harry Palmer's kind of thing. It's again part of what is very common in deceptive business practices, multi-level marketing, network marketing, and a lot of scams, and basically those organisations that really don't care about the person that they're trying to support to get them through the organisation. They just care about getting them to the next course and getting money into their bank account, and that's exactly what it feels like, to the stage of that. You'll leave them in complete stress, or you'll break up their whole world is just so totally wrong. Like, I can't stress. So, and I partaked in this when I was an avatar master because I was an avatar master. So it's like, comes part with that. So I'm not saying this from a place of being high and mighty. I'm saying this from a place of fact and exactly what is going on here, which you can't see when you're in that. You can't see when you're in anything like that. So again, I've got here, there is the use of undue influence and huge pressure in signing people up for future courses. People are encouraged to go against their partner's back, which I was, to get out credit cards, which I was, to find a way, no matter what, no matter the consequences. If the person doesn't have the money, then if they've tried everything, they've tried bank loans, they've tried credit cards, they've tried their family and friends, everything they can imagine, then a master will magically appear and loan you that money. And that can happen multiple times. That can happen to get you to the master's course, which then can happen to get you to the professional course, which then can happen to get you to wizard's course, which is just wrong. A contract is then set up between the master and the student as per the trainer's instructions, and sometimes flights are also donated as well by masters, who are often coerced, but that's another story. So by masters who donate their flybys to potential students. So it's almost like, and I've heard this, the student or the master doesn't even have a choice. It's like, if you just looked at the amount of coercion and the guilt that is put onto these people, you're letting the side down, and don't you want to be this, and don't you want to do that, and what you're not willing to look at, what you're not willing to take responsibility for, what are you resisting, is your life ever going to change? If we just say it all like that, just see it for what it is. It's not help. It's not being supportive at all. So again, flights for the master's course are often checked on behalf of the student by an avatar master, whilst the student is still undertaking the avatar course and when they are under an altered state of consciousness. So that absolutely would be something to look at legally, that you're being coerced whilst under altered states of consciousness, and people magically have their laptops there and able to look at flights for you as well. At the same time, the student will be told to fill in an application for the next course. Again, they haven't finished the avatar course, which is considered in avatar to set your intention to make sure you get to the next course, which it isn't. And this happens even if they stay in stress. They haven't got the funds, and they stay in stress that their partner's going to break up with them, or they're going to lose their job. And this happens, only for that person to really regret it later on, which will be their fault, from the avatar master's perspective and the QEnds and the AIs. If that happens, then they created it, so it's their fault. So again, all liability goes back to the student all the time, 100% of the time. So one-to-one support is provided to make sure the student gets to the next course, no matter the consequences. And many undertake various avatar exercises, sometimes over a period of several days, which again, arguably, unduly influence to get them to the next course. And it doesn't matter if surgery's missed, or funerals, or weddings, or family gatherings, or anything. Just doesn't matter. Just get the person to the next course. So again, finally, to say that no one is forced to go on our courses is completely avoiding responsibility and is quite frankly delusional. Under contractual law, many contracts would be considered void due to the amount of undue influence and pressure the potential student is subjected to. And I just want to make this point because this is really, really worrying. And I've heard things maybe shifting in your organisation, but this needs to be put into a formal statement because this is extremely damaging. So Stars Edge commonly avoids all responsibility with regards to students borrowing money by using a small pool of avatar masters to contract and lend money on their behalf. This lending is supported and approved by a Star Edge trainer, and I've had multiple cases come in where it goes beyond that to coercion, guilt, pushing and abuse from Avra in terms of these avatar masters lending money. So there's so much going on behind the scenes. I found it quite shocking. I had no idea. I borrowed money on avatar masters. To say this is wrong is an understatement. And what I would really like to know, and what we'd really like to know, is if it's so important to Avra and so important to the trainers to have someone to make the next course and keep them on the path, then why is Stars Edge, a multi-million-dollar organisation, not lending the money? Why are they not lending the money? If it's so important to you, why are you using and exploiting your avatar masters to loan up money? So you just get all the benefit and all the money, and they're the ones that have to pick up the pieces and carry the stress for years and years. So again, this was in response to people do not have to go on our courses. Like, no one says they have to go on our courses. If you enter the world of Avatar, it's the complete opposite. I'd also like to know why QEnd and Avatar Masters, well, a QM and an Avatar Master, both who I worked with when part of this organisation, are being held responsible within this article, and even making complaints to the Press Council. Why is the trainer who is responsible for Australia and New Zealand not responding? I haven't seen any comments from them. They're the ones that person is the one who's responsible. And why is there no comments from Stars Edge as an organisation? Why are they not picking up the pieces? Again, that to me is exploitation. That's using someone and it's exploiting someone rather than you, again, resolving this whole issue. So I hope that helps everyone to get more of an insight into really what goes on within Avatar, and just to help debunk some of these claims. And if you need any help or support, if you've got any information, just email us. So all the information is on the website. Thank you so much.